Nestled deep within the rugged landscape of a remote canyon, a small community thrived amid towering cliffs and winding rivers. The air was crisp, filled with the earthy scent of pine and wildflowers. Life here was simple yet demanding. Families relied on one another for support, sharing joys and hardships alike. The residents were bound together by a strong sense of community, often gathering for celebrations, work, or to lend a helping hand during tough times. Among them was a skilled midwife known for her gentle hands and wise words. Her adobe home, filled with herbs and handmade quilts, served as both her refuge and a sanctuary for expectant mothers. However, life in the canyon was not without its challenges. The steep terrain made travel difficult, especially during storms when muddy paths became treacherous. Access to modern medical care was limited, making the midwife's role crucial in ensuring safe deliveries. Despite these obstacles, the canyon community remained resilient. They cherished their traditions and often turned to the midwife not just for births but also for guidance through life's trials. In this close-knit environment, every birth was celebrated as a triumph over adversity, weaving deeper connections among families. The midwife, Clara, was a beloved figure in the canyon, known for her compassion and skillful hands. With years of experience, she had built a reputation as the person everyone turned to during childbirth. Her thick, dark hair was often tied back in a practical braid, and her kind brown eyes seemed to sparkle with warmth. Clara carried a well-worn leather satchel filled with essential tools and herbal remedies, always ready to assist when needed. Over the years, she had faced countless challenges: breech births, high-risk pregnancies, and even emergencies that required quick thinking. Clara remembered each birth not just as a clinical event but as a unique story, filled with emotions and hopes. When she entered a home, it wasn't just her skills that provided comfort, her presence alone brought a sense of calm. With little access to hospitals, many women had placed their trust in her care. Clara often arrived at the first light of dawn or just before dusk, hiking along narrow paths to reach families in need. Through storms and muddy trails, she persevered, committed to ensuring that every child welcomed into the world had a fighting chance. In this way, she became more than just a midwife, she was a keeper of life's most precious moments. One warm evening, as the sun set behind the canyon walls, Sarah and Tom sat together in their small wooden cabin, their hearts fluttering with excitement and anxiety. They had just learned they were expecting twins, a surprise that brought both joy and worry. The couple had always dreamed of having children, but two at once felt overwhelming. As they shared their hopes for the future, Sarah's hand rested protectively on her growing belly. "Can we really handle this?" she asked, glancing at Tom, who wore a thoughtful expression. He took her hand and smiled reassuringly. "We'll figure it out together. We have each other and the support of the community." Yet, as the days passed, the reality of twin pregnancies began to settle in their minds. They worried about how they'd care for two newborns with limited resources and how to manage feeding, changing, and comforting them simultaneously. The couple often spoke about their dreams, how they envisioned their children playing together in the canyon's fields, but those dreams were shadowed by fears of sleepless nights and the challenges ahead. Despite their worries, Sarah and Tom remained hopeful, knowing that their love would guide them through whatever lay ahead. With Clara by their side, they felt a little more prepared to embrace the journey of parenthood that awaited them. As Sarah and Tom prepared for the arrival of their twins, Clara took time to explain an important concern: breech presentation. Typically, babies are born head down, which is the safest position for delivery. However, when a baby is in breech position, this means their feet or bottom are positioned to come out first instead of their head. This can lead to complications during childbirth. Clara carefully elaborated that breech presentations could be especially challenging with twins. If the first twin was breech, it often meant additional risks for both the mother and the babies. Clara emphasized that while many breech births could be handled safely by experienced midwives, they required special attention and care. The couple listened intently as Clara explained the various types of breech presentations, including footling breech, where one or both feet are positioned to come out first, and complete breech, where the baby sits cross-legged. Each type posed different challenges during delivery. Understanding these factors brought a mix of fear and determination to Sarah and Tom. They realized they needed to trust Clara's expertise, knowing she had guided many families through similar situations before. With this knowledge, they felt a bit more prepared for the unexpected journey ahead. The night of the twins' arrival was filled with a mix of excitement and tension as Sarah's labor began. The air in the cabin was charged with anticipation, and the soft glow of oil lamps flickered against the walls, casting comforting shadows. Tom paced nervously, glancing at Sarah, who was breathing through the early contractions, her face a blend of determination and discomfort. As the hours passed, Clara arrived quickly, her presence immediately calming the atmosphere. She brought with her a sense of reassurance that eased some of Sarah's fears. Clara checked on Sarah regularly, offering encouraging words and gentle touches to help guide her through each wave of pain. The couple could hear the distant sounds of crickets and the rustle of leaves outside, but inside their home, it felt like time had slowed down. With each contraction, the reality of delivering twins loomed larger. Sarah's heart raced as she thought about the challenges ahead, especially with one baby possibly being Breech. Tom stayed close by, holding her hand tightly as they shared quiet words of encouragement. They were ready to face this unusual delivery together, their hopes intertwined with the rhythm of Sarah's labor. The night held the promise of new life, and despite their fears, they were determined to welcome their children into the world. As Sarah labored through the intense waves of contractions, Clara remained focused and calm, ready to assist with the unique challenges of a breech birth. When the moment finally arrived, Clara positioned herself carefully at the foot of the bed, ready to deliver the first twin. With Tom by Sarah's side, holding her hand tightly, they exchanged encouraging glances, knowing they were in capable hands. Clara reminded Sarah to breathe deeply as she guided the baby down through the birth canal. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, and every sound outside seemed to fade away. With each contraction, Clara gently maneuvered to help ease the breech baby's feet first into the world. As she skillfully cradled the baby, a rush of emotions filled the room. Finally, with one last powerful push from Sarah and Clara's expert guidance, the first twin emerged, a beautiful little girl with bright eyes and a head full of dark hair. Clara quickly wrapped her in a soft cloth and placed her on Sarah's chest, where a wave of relief and joy washed over them all. Yet, they knew that the second twin would need Clara's experience and care even more as they prepared for the next delivery. As the excitement of the first twin's birth faded, a new wave of tension washed over the room. Clara sensed the urgency when Sarah's contractions began to intensify again, yet she knew that delivering the second twin would pose its own challenges. After the breech delivery of the first baby, there was concern about how the second would present itself. Clara quickly prepared for the next delivery, reminding Sarah to focus on her breathing. As another contraction hit, Clara felt the baby shift within Sarah. This time, however, the second twin was still positioned breech, making it more complicated. Clara calmly reassured Sarah and Tom, explaining each step as she carefully maneuvered to ease the baby down the birth canal. With each push, Clara expertly adjusted her position to help guide the second twin out safely. The room was filled with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Just as it seemed the baby was stuck, Clara relied on her experience and knowledge, using gentle but firm pressure to encourage movement. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the second twin, a boy, emerged into the world. Clara swiftly wrapped him in a cloth and placed him beside his sister on Sarah's chest, marveling at their strength and resilience as a family. In the days leading up to the twins' birth, Tom felt the crushing weight of his gambling debts pressing down on him. Each loss at the poker table left a deeper mark on his conscience, and soon, he found himself in a desperate situation. As Sarah's belly grew, so did his worries about how they would provide for two new mouths to feed. One evening, while Sarah rested, Tom sat alone in the dim light of their cabin, grappling with his mistakes. The thought of selling one of his children crept into his mind like an unwelcome shadow. He knew it was wrong, but desperation clouded his judgment. He envisioned how quickly money could solve their immediate problems, yet the very idea twisted his heart in knots. Caught in a whirlwind of emotions, Tom remembered Sarah's laughter and their dreams of family life. He could not bear the thought of losing one of their babies for a fleeting fix to his financial mess. Determined to find another way, he promised himself that he would face his debts and work hard to make things right for Sarah and their twins. With renewed resolve, Tom decided that family was worth more than any game he could play. In the aftermath of the twins' birth, Tom found himself laden with both joy and an overwhelming dread. The sight of his two beautiful children momentarily eased his financial worries, but they quickly crept back into his mind. The reality of his gambling debts loomed larger than ever. With barely enough resources to care for one child, he felt trapped in a cycle of desperation. As he held his baby boy in one arm and looked at his daughter nestled against Sarah, dark thoughts began to seep in. Sold half-heartedly as soon as the idea entered his mind, he thought, what if one child could secure a stable life for the other? Would that make it right? Motivated by a twisted sense of responsibility, Tom began rationalizing the decision. Perhaps selling one twin would allow them to pay off debts, and provide a better future for the remaining child. Yet, deep down, guilt gnawed at him like a relentless beast. He envisioned future heartbreak, the pain of separation that would haunt him for years. This realization caused turmoil within Tom's heart. He was torn between what seemed like survival and the harsh truth that family should never be broken apart for financial gain. In the days following the birth of Sarah and Tom's twins, the community buzzed with mixed emotions. News of the successful delivery spread quickly, and many families came to celebrate the new arrivals, bringing gifts of food and handmade blankets. However, when whispers of Tom's drastic decision to sell one twin reached their ears, a heavy silence fell over the joyful gatherings. Neighbors exchanged worried glances, unsure how to respond to such a shocking revelation. Some felt anger toward Tom for even considering such an act, believing it went against the very fabric of family and community values. How could he even think of separating those children, they murmured, shaking their heads in disbelief. Others expressed pity for Tom, recognizing the burden of his gambling debts but still struggling to understand his reasoning. Clara, the midwife, took it upon herself to speak with the couple, urging them to seek help and support from the community rather than making a decision that would haunt them forever. With her gentle guidance, she encouraged neighbors to rally around Sarah and Tom, offering not just material support but also emotional strength. In this tight-knit canyon community, love and compassion began to outweigh judgment as they contemplated how best to help a family in crisis. The prospect of selling a child stirred profound ethical questions within the community and within Tom himself. Many residents struggled to reconcile their compassion for Tom's desperate situation with their moral beliefs. In a tight-knit community that valued family above all, the idea of separating siblings felt like an affront to their very way of life. Tom grappled with his own emotions as well, wrestling with guilt and shame at the thought of abandoning one of his children for financial relief. He envisioned the pain this decision would inflict not only on his wife, Sarah, but on the child he might have to give up. The weight of such a choice loomed heavy on his heart, causing sleepless nights and deep regret. For Sarah, the emotional turmoil was unbearable. She often found herself torn between her love for both children and the anguish of potentially losing one. Clara, witnessing this internal struggle, urged the couple to find alternative solutions, emphasizing that no financial burden could justify breaking their family apart. As discussions surfaced in the community about Tom's intentions, a prevailing sentiment emerged: families should support one another through hardships rather than place monetary value on love. This collective response served as a reminder that in times of crisis, compassion should lead the way over despair. Clara felt the weight of the recent events heavily on her heart. As a midwife, she had dedicated her life to supporting families through both joyous and difficult times, and witnessing Tom's struggle was especially challenging. She often reflected on how the choices parents made could ripple through the lives of their children for generations. Despite her own concerns, Clara remained steadfast in her commitment to help Sarah and Tom navigate their crisis. Each day, she visited their cabin, offering not just physical assistance but also emotional support. Clara listened to Sarah's fears and offered guidance to help both parents feel empowered in their roles. She believed that even amid despair, there were paths forward that did not involve sacrificing love or family. Clara organized community gatherings where neighbors came together to share resources, food, clothes, and offers of help for new parents. Her resilience inspired others as they rallied around Sarah and Tom, creating an atmosphere of unity and hope. Clara knew that while tough decisions lay ahead for every family, a shared commitment to compassion could provide the strength needed to overcome obstacles together. In fostering this spirit, she reaffirmed her belief that every child deserved a loving home filled with support and care. In the weeks following the birth of the twins, the Canyon community began to heal and grow stronger. Both Sarah and Tom found solace in the support that surrounded them, realizing that their struggles were shared by many. This sense of belonging helped ease their burdens, rekindling hope for a brighter future. The experience had tested their love and resilience but ultimately deepened their family bonds. Clara's influence extended beyond her role as a midwife. She became a beacon of compassion, reminding everyone that challenges could pave the way for connections and understanding. The gatherings she organized fostered an environment where neighbors exchanged stories and offered encouragement, reinforcing their commitment to one another. As Tom worked diligently to repay his debts, he embraced a newfound determination to provide for his family, understanding that true wealth lay in love and togetherness rather than money. Sarah felt empowered by this change, knowing they would face each day united. With time, laughter filled their home again, and as their twins grew, they served as a reminder of both the fragility and strength of life. In a community bound by shared trials, each family learned that love could triumph over hardship, creating a legacy of resilience for generations to come.